Hey, thank you all for joining us for today's episode. We are in Bentonville, Arkansas, hanging out with singer-songwriter Milana Hainline. Thank you so much for sitting down with us today.
Yes, thank you.
We're super excited to get to know you and have all your past fans and new fans get to know you better as well. Let's get started with kind of our rapid fire segment. A few questions if you feel ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Let's give it a go.
Okay.
All right. So now, just like our listeners, we're meeting you for the first time today. So we didn't know you yet, but for a couple years, we lived just a little bit north of where you grew up.
Yeah.
And we can't really get a straight answer on this.
Okay.
But is Missouri part of the Midwest or is it part of the South?
It is part of the Midwest. We are not the South.
Do you have people in your life, though, who, like, swear by it? Or is it just people that we know?
I feel like that call it the Midwest.
Yeah.
Or
it's the South.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say that it's the South. Everyone's always like, yep, it's the Midwest. And I know it's the Midwest because if you look at any of the memes that are based on, like, the Midwest sayings and everything, Missouri does them. So it means that we're in it. Yeah.
Okay. So we personally agree. We just have come across a few people who say it's part of the South.
Disagree. Interesting. Oh, my gosh.
Maybe it's just our bubble. It's our circle of friends.
The South.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, before the interview, I was talking to you a little bit about your travels.
Yeah.
You were recently in Italy.
Yes.
So we were like corresponding and sending each other DMs while you were in Italy.
Yes.
Well, you have beautiful travel photos up.
Thank you.
So if you don't already follow her on Instagram, you need to go.
Yes.
If not for the music, for the travel photos,
Absolutely.
for the gelato photos.
Yeah.
You must have had your fair share of gelato.
I was in Italy. I was in Florence, Italy for 2 full weeks, and I had gelato every single day.
This is what I tell Dallin.
Yeah.
So y'all never see Dallin anymore on the camera because he's behind it. But I tell him, like, if you're walking around Italy, you're going to stop at least once. I mean,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a few times a day.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you.
For
telling everybody. But you're also
no shame.
Thank you. But you're also from Southwest Missouri.
Yes.
Where Andy's frozen custard reigns.
Yes.
So I have kind of a 2-part question for you.
Okay.
First, it's kind of a would you rather a little bit. If you could only have one of these treats for the rest of your life, would it be gelato or would it be Andy's frozen custard?
So here's why I have to say gelato, which is hard because I love Andy's so much.
Yeah,
but
let's weigh in.
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't ever really eat it unless I take, like, medicine. So most of the time, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So that being said, in Italy, there's something about the way that their milk is made, and I don't have any issues at all, and my stomach never hurts. So I was eating all the gelato that I wanted with no medication.
See?
So it was the best thing in the world. Yeah.
Not to keep bringing Dallin in, but this has been like a years-long debate of what's the difference. He's like, there's no difference between gelato and ice cream, and I'm like, it is just better. Like, it's just science. And so there's the science. No reactions.
No reactions.
There we go. Okay, so part 2 of the question.
Yeah.
What's your go-to flavor or flavors of gelato then?
Okay. I really love trying just weird flavors in general, like even outside of gelato. If something is weird, I'm probably going to try it just to say that I've done it.
I'm curious, what's the weirdest?
Well, my favorite, like, I guess weird one, now it's more like people actually like it, but it was lavender. I love the lavender. It was so good. But the weirdest I tried was straight up basil gelato.
Okay.
Which is not a normal thing.
Yeah, weird. I'm wondering if it's weird good or is it weird
It was
bad?
it was weird good. It was weird good, but it was not something that I probably would eat again. Not because it wasn't bad, just because I was like, I feel like I'm eating a vegetable. And I love basil, but I don't want to feel like I'm eating a salad while I'm eating my gelato.
But here's what I'm thinking now that you say that. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm eating a vegetable. Like, is it does it come across kind of like peppermint ice cream?
Okay.
Peppermint gelato?
Yes, I think that's the same, like, way
idea?
for it. Yeah, it's the same idea for it. It's not like I'm actually eating a salad when I'm eating it, but I can definitely tell that I'm eating basil.
Yeah, you're like, add some mozzarella and
yes,
tomato.
Yes, but my favorite flavors, whether it's weird or not, was lavender and pistachio. I could have those two flavors all the time.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to cut the interview. We're going to go get some gelato. It sounds super good.
Yeah.
On the interwebs, I saw a little blurb, let's call it. It's like a 1-second bio that describes you as a, quote, singer-songwriter who is passionate about creating music that points to Christ.
Yes.
I love that.
Thank you.
It's so simply said. But when this episode airs, you will have a single out. Yeah. It'll be just a few days before your second single comes out called Never Leaving. But I do want to talk about your single that's out now called Author of Life.
Yes.
It sounds very, I'm going to think of Monsters and Men-esque. Mm-hmm. Like it has that indie vibe.
Yeah.
It's like haunting and beautiful, but most people who come across or stumble across your music, they'll hear that indie folk sound and not expect like that Christian rock or Christian music aspect of it. Can you tell us a little bit about how you found your sound and like what it means to you to kind of break down those barriers of like the typical Christian music sound?
Yeah. So when I've been writing music for years, and I've always kind of leaned more towards making music that does sound indie, does sound more like folky. That was just my go-to forever. But then when I started deciding, like, I think I actually want to record this and like put it out in the world as far for any song, I started thinking like, you know, there really are these, what I call like, there's 3 different types or boxes of sounds that Christian music kind of falls into right now. Okay. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. That doesn't mean that singers that are fitting into those boxes are bad and like shouldn't be listened to. They're absolutely amazing, and I listen to all 3 of those categories. But like you have more of like your big church type sound, you're more like Passion City, Elevation. They're creating amazing music, amazing content right now. But they have that sound. They have that fixed sound. And so some artists will sound very similar, or they'll be part of those organizations, those churches, those bands. And so when they create a song, it also kind of sounds like a little bit like that vibe. Yeah. You have more of like your big corporate worship type setting sound, which I would say like Maverick City. They're just released a new album. It's absolutely amazing. And so you have this new vibe that's really growing, which is fantastic. And then you have more of your radio sound, the things that you've kind of grown up with hearing on the radio. And so I think recently artists are kind of wanting to push through that sound of what you're typically hearing. And I'm starting to hear that in artists like Brandon Lake. There's a reason that people are like, wow, Lauren Daigle's music, it's very jazzy. It's so different in itself, and we don't know how to box it. Like, it's not typical that you hear it in a church service. Not that it can't be used in a church service, but sometimes you don't hear it in a church service, or you don't hear it for these different settings. And so when I was thinking about that and listening to these artists and getting inspiration from them, I was really thinking, how can I really just like push through that mold as much as I physically can? So with Author of Life and with my other songs, I would sit with my producer. He's incredibly talented, an amazing musician, producer, singer. And what we would do is we would take a song that I had already created. It would already basically kind of be fleshed out the way that I had it. And it would always sound acoustic, always sound indie. Mm-hmm. And then basically what we would do is we'd sit there and say, okay, what if we created a song that was more like, we use your song and we make it more poppy? Like, how do you feel about that? Or like, let's listen to some of the greatest like secular artists right now and hear those sounds. Like, let's listen to Billie Eilish for a bit and just hear that sound. Can we create that sound in Christian music? Or like, can we take Olivia Rodrigo and can we take those types of sounds and make it Christian music. So we would sit and just listen to all of these different artists and sounds and then take those and be like, oh, well, I think I could do the same sound. And so that's what's been really cool working on this album that I'm creating right now, and with Author of Life being the first song that people hear from this, what will be in this little world that this album lives in and Author of Life also lives in, is you hear those songs that sound a little poppy. You hear those songs that sound a little bit like more mystical. You hear the ones that sound like Taylor Swift is sitting in the mountains and writing a song by the fire. You have all of those different versions in one, because really Christian music can expand to all those different sounds. We just have to be willing to listen and give those an opportunity. My biggest, musical inspiration, at least for this song, for me, his name's Matthew Mole. He's an artist from South Africa. He is amazing, and he's really growing in Africa and Europe. He's actually on tour in Europe right now. Just insane. And I love his music. I love his stuff. And so his sound is very more, it's very pure. It's more acoustic vibes. It's light. And I was like, I want to create something just like that. And so that was my biggest inspiration for Author of Life. Well, and with this specific song, it was so special because I realized I didn't write a bridge for this specific song, and I was like, do I need to? I don't like writing on the spot like that fast, where it feels forced. And my producer was like, well, what if we put in like a sermon or something? And I was like, if we're gonna do a sermon, I don't want it to be from just like any random sermon. I want it to be very, very, very special to me. So my great-grandfather is actually a pastor at a really small church in Branson, Missouri. And I literally looked up one of his sermons. We listened to the whole thing, and I put that in there. So
That's incredible.
Yeah, so getting to show him that as well. And he was emotional from that, to hear like my sermon is in my great-granddaughter's song. Like, I can't, why would she do that? That's insane. So yeah, wow. It was a very special song for me. I feel like every single time that I sit down and I try to write a song about love or life or joy or happiness or sadness that isn't related in that way, like if you think about it, a lot of music, secular music, it's about love. Like, we like to talk about this, and we like to talk about heartbreak. And I'm not saying I can't write those songs. I definitely can write those songs. But also in my brain, I'm like, that is not what I want to put out in the world. Is like, here's my pain, here's this, or like, here's this love that's great, and we don't know what's happening with it right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And for some artists, that works great, and they're able to express their emotions in that way. And it's so hard for me to create meaningful lyrics in that way. I don't know what it is about it. For me personally, I would sit down and the lyrics would just not come, or wouldn't be meaningful. But whenever I began to have these realizations of like, yeah, like my life is so far from perfect, and so is everyone else's. And truly, whether we're showing people this or not, sometimes it truly does feel like we're just sitting in this mud. Yeah. And instead of trying to fix it all, sometimes it's good to be able to just have the Lord sit with us in that. And so that allowed me to really create a new sound, as well as new, just more meaningful lyrics that focus on that, of admitting like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or I'm trying to do this my own way, which is what I personally struggle with all the time. And then either a, but God, like, you have me, or a, but God, like, you are the one that I'm worshiping, and that's what's important. So I don't know if that's like a secret for like writing Christian music or being drawn to Christian music, but especially there's some amazing Christian artists out right now that are creating really meaningful stuff based on things that they're going through and what other people are going through. And I think we're able to really connect with those if we just like take a moment to listen.
And you're working on more music.
Yeah.
What is next for you? Like, what can we, as fans, look forward to in this next little bit?
Yeah. So August 19th, just a couple days after this airs, actually, Author of Life will have its next little partner with it, which is called Never Leaving. It's my second single that will be coming out. Never Leaving was written from a very vulnerable place, of just kind of a moment of I was in a lot of pain writing it, but at the same time, it was this recognition of, but if this is where the Lord is, then I'm never going to leave. I'm not going to leave if the Lord's in it. This song's incredibly special to me because it not only features me singing on it, it is also features my producer singing on it.
Cool.
He's just insanely talented. His name's Andrew Solomito. So just be looking out for that. As well as it has a very special voice memo from a really dear friend of mine from way back. And it was really cool to be able to show him as well, like, hey, here's you. Thank you for being a great friend. You're in my song. So in general, Never Leaving, that's going to be wonderful. There'll be a lyric video with that as well that's coming out around the same time. So be looking for that. And then after that, we'll have one more single that I'll be releasing before a full album. So the album is called Paint and Honey, and I don't have an official release date yet for that. Still working on that, as well as when it's the best time that I feel it should be released. And I'm taking my sweet time and taking the comfort that I want to take when I want to release it. So, but yeah, so that album will really work on the whole goal. Paint and Honey that's its own little world, but every single song sounds very, very different. And like I had mentioned earlier, pushes through all of the barriers of what that sound could sound like. So you will hear sounds that are very poppy, that are very different than Author of Life. You will hear like a guitar riff that's out of nowhere, but is wonderful. You'll have a more rocky song. You'll have super acoustic ones. You'll have ones that are very raw. And so my hope is that you'll enjoy that and that you'll listen to the full thing in order, and just the gift that it hopefully will be, and the words that I'm trying to express, because I think all of us can kind of feel that, whether you're a believer or not. We at least all know what pain feels like. We all know what uncomfiness feels like. We all know what joy also feels like. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well,
yeah.
I am blown away by you. Your heart is so big. It translates and transpires and is inspiring. We're so excited for everything that you have coming up.
Thank you.
So if you don't, like she said, she doesn't have a release date for the album, so you have to follow her.
Yeah.
Follow the journey, follow the process of writing.
There's a married couple. They actually just started a church in Nashville. I don't know the name of the church. They literally just moved. But their names are Noah and Maddie Heron, and something that they always say, and they're constantly putting it on their social media as well, is like, today's the best day ever. And I don't know what it is, but as soon as I saw them continue to say that, and I'm sure other people use that in other contexts, but from another believer to be able to say that as well allows me to just realize, like, today can seriously be the best day ever. Doesn't mean that, like, terrible things could happen in that day. Yeah. Maybe, absolutely. Yeah. And there might be grieving, or there might be really hard things, or there might be stress and challenges, but like, every single morning that I wake up is a gift, and I'm able to use that, whether I'm using that for the glory of the Lord or choosing to do something else. But every single day is truly a gift. Breath, like air in my lungs, is a gift. And so I want to be able to use that. So it's the best day ever today. So
today is the best day ever. So is there anyone we want to say hi to or thank you to? Or anything?
Honestly, like, just in general, like, thank you to my family, my immediate family, my mom and my dad, and my sister Maylin in general. You guys have supported me through everything and continue to. And then also shout out to my producer, Andrew Solomito, because quite literally my music would not sound how it does without him. It would not be as, he's in such a support system in general. So that's something I don't think a lot of people have. And the music industry can be really, really challenging sometimes. So to have a producer that's like supporting me through everything is just beyond me. So thank you.
I tried to make this life my own thing. I thought that I was invited to your making, and I used blessings just for my glory. I chased directions to fit my story, I had lost it all. I could see your name written on the page. You are the author of life, you're my savior, my guide, you're my everything. You put the light in the stars, you're my painter,